to see you, Michael. Okay, so we have obviously a group here, some of whom would have tuned into the conversation that we had back in March, some of whom were not part of that conversation that we had back in March. And so in order to get us all on the same page, Michael, I wonder if we can start just by you taking a few minutes to walk us through a little bit of your story, why we engaged, and what you shared with us back in March. A little bit of the FieldBee story and kind of how we got to connect together.
Yeah, so in the end of February, I found myself being an agritech entrepreneur dealing with another story, the war in Ukraine. And so we had to continue business of the company and at the same time help our employees and their families. And so I engaged with a mutual friend who helped me to set up a base for our company in Poland. And this is how we've met.
So could you tell us a little bit first, before we talk about what's happening right now in Ukraine and with your team in Ukraine and get caught up on that, can you tell us a little bit about FieldBee, about what you do and your backstory as an entrepreneur?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I founded this company in 2014, and the idea was that I saw the developments in precision agriculture space at that time, and the penetration of the technologies was about 5% in terms of GPS and navigation systems. And this is because most of the agriculture technologies that have been developed so far was developed for large fields in the United States, Canada, and so forth. And the smaller farmers didn't have a product to have a payback on their investment. And this has intrigued me, and I started to plow my energy into this. And my background is mostly business, but since 2014, it is agriculture. And together with our Ukrainian team, we have built this business, and we are developing navigation systems, steering systems, and robotic kits for agricultural machines. And we work directly with farmers, with distributors, and with agriculture equipment manufacturers.
Amazing. And you got started on this. Did your father, tell me about your connection with your father to this industry? Because this goes way back for you, even though you didn't come from an agriculture background.
Mm-hmm. Yes. My father was a head of research laboratory in the Soviet Union. And in 1988, I think, or 89, Communist Party gave him a task to develop a navigation system for agricultural machine. And he was a microelectronics engineer, and in about a year, he developed a controller that one operator using that controller can operate 15 machines simultaneously. And it was in 1989. The only problem that the cost of that machine was about maybe 100 times more than a tractor. And the size of the controller is about half of the stage that you are standing on.
So maybe not so useful. And so the product that you currently have is a product that is designed specifically for small to medium scale farmers. What makes it useful for farmers at that scale?
First of all, it's a payback period. So right now, also with high input prices at the moment that we see, the payback period is 1 year for farmers who have land holdings of 10 hectares. So this is the main kind of competitive advantage for the smaller farmers, but it also works for larger farmers as well. I mean, it works for various kinds of agriculture machines. It is easy to change between machines. It is easy to use because it's a mobile app as an interface instead of the terminal, and easy to service. We have clients in about 50 countries operating out of Ukraine and now Poland. And so all service is done remotely. We can update it, upgrade it, patch it. So farmers don't need to waste time in mission critical operations.
Amazing. And so you mentioned they're operating out of Ukraine and now Poland. So beginning of February this year, you had a 40-person R&D department in Ukraine. Talk us through what happened in that month.
Just before, maybe 1 week before the invasion of Ukraine, we had a team meeting where we discussed evacuation plan for our employees. We decided to take it seriously. I mean, no one believed that the war was going to break out, but we decided to create an evacuation plan like everyone has it in a building, evacuation plan for the building. And we decided to make one, but think it through in every detail and put it aside just in case. And so the plan entailed that we rented a big bus and filled it with petrol, and it was next to our office. And everybody who from our employees who didn't have personal cars were invited to come when if such event would happen, together with their families, together with children and parents and even their pets. And those ones who had their own cars, they agreed on the meeting points and how they will go, the communication between the team. We rented a place in west part of Ukraine, a hotel, and we sent an employee there before 1 week before, just in case, a couple of weeks for a holiday. And when it all happened, we were prepared. And in 1 day, we evacuated 64 people, employees and their families to the west part of Ukraine, although it took about 40 hours for them to get there because of the traffics and bombings and things. But really proud to say that many children didn't see any bombs, and their psychology was not affected.
And then what happened next? So you got people to the western part of Ukraine. Did they stay there? Did they set up shop? What happened next?
We tried to work, but it turned out not to be possible because, young males were conscripted to the army or had a threat to be conscripted to the army. And so we decided to move a part of the team to Romania and then consequently to Poland. And the other part went to work on the farm. We have a client and a friend from farmer Henry from Netherlands. He works in Ukraine. So part of the team that stayed, they stayed at his farm and continued R&D operations at his farm. And then part of that team was also able to cross the border. And now we have about 20 people in Poland and 20 people in Ukraine. So those ones who wanted to stay in Ukraine, they stayed. Those who wanted to go, they went.
And around this time, were you also supporting other people to evacuate from Ukraine?
Yes, it was an initiative of my wife mostly. So the bus that took the people to the west part of Ukraine, it came back and started going back and forth, evacuating people. And then it joined with another 2 buses. So we had 3 buses and evacuated more than 1,000 people during months of March and April. And then many people started to return. So maybe we should, work on returning people to Kyiv.
Why did they start to return?
Because people feel not at home, in Europe. Many of them went with no belongings, no friends, no work. And so in Kyiv, the situation is relatively okay now. It's not safe, but okay. So they think that they should be there together with their families because many families were separated. And it's kind of hard to live for a long time without your partner. For example, my brother's wife, she is in the Netherlands together with me in a different house, but here in the Netherlands. And for 2.5 months, they have lived without seeing each other. So it's really difficult for her and for her children. So this is why people return.
Yeah. That tension, that horrific tension between what do I do to feel safe and what do I do to feel connected, that you've had to navigate. Michael, you've brought us kind of through to what we covered on our last call. What's happened since then? Can you bring us up to speed? What's happening with you? What's happening with your team? What's happening in Ukraine? Can you fill us in?
Yes. So at the moment, we work on several things. So first of all, setting up the office in Poland and hiring people, getting our production up to speed, getting assembly line sorted. This is one direction. Second, we have launched a new product that we have been waiting for a long time. So we launched it. So we are in the middle of the launch of that product, which is a new generation automatic steering system. So we are doing that. Also, fundraising. It is quite difficult for a company with Ukrainian roots right now to fundraise. But because we have moved significant part of key people and operations to Poland, now it's becoming more possible. And third, of course, is supporting supporting people in Ukraine, supporting families. So this is where my work is mostly about. In situation Ukraine is unfortunately is really is difficult, and it's going to stay difficult for a long time. This war is not going to be over very soon. So we don't. This is the most difficult thing about it, because you don't know when it's going to end.
You know, one of the things that struck me on our last call was how almost preternaturally calm you were, and how just laser focused you were on kind of doing what needs to be done. And I follow you on Twitter, and it's certainly clear to me from your Twitter feed, if I can interpret what I read on your Twitter feed, that completely understandably, the invasion is absolutely front of mind. And my question is, in that kind of context, when your homeland is being invaded, when your safety is threatened, when you're having to make that kind of horrific choice between safety and belonging, how do you take care of yourself, and how do you work through the right amount of time to focus on the business versus the right amount of time to focus on yourself and your loved ones?
I think, first of all, the people and the whole team is focused on our vision. And we are focusing on delivering technologies that really help farmers to become more efficient and sustainable. And this motivates us all. And this helps us to remain sane, even in these difficult times, because we know what we are doing the right thing for the right reasons. So everybody is focused on that. I feel the team support. I feel every person's support, and we do support each other. So everybody knows that these are difficult times, but what we are doing is right. So this gives us the energy and gives us the meaning why we need to pull through, why we need to do it on one hand. And another hand, of course, is big mission Ukraine. We need to rebuild it. We need to make it successful. So we have to be there when when it's going to happen, and not collapse under the stress and fatigue and depression.
Do you have moments of despair?
Yes, but I have other people who support me, and they do support me, and I have to be, and I have to support my team. So this responsibility gives me strength not to go down into that deeply.
Yeah. Can you talk to us, when you first started describing the history here, one of the things that struck me about your story was how prepared you were, that you created this evacuation plan, even though nobody really thought it was going to happen in the same way we all create, fire drill evacuation plans, even though we really don't think we're going to need to use them. What is your preparation looking like from here? Where do you see FieldBee going? How do you see continuing to engage with a presence in Ukraine? What are your thoughts on what comes next?
Our company is going to build on its strengths, and Ukraine is definitely our strength. We have a lot of connections, and we know a lot of good people and developers and engineers in Ukraine. We'd like to continue engagement with them. We'd like to help pay them salaries and to expand our presence there. But our main development center is going to be, or is now located in Poland, and there we will also have a proper R&D facility where we can run our tractors, run our autonomous vehicles, and not be threatened by air raids. So we want to build on these two locations, and we are working on attaining some finance from private investors and maybe some strategic partnerships, and hopefully we can deliver these products to many farmers, and we want to be useful.
Can you talk to me a little bit about the facility in Poland? I remember that when you set up that facility, you did something interesting in terms of pairing your engineers with from Ukraine with other engineers there. Can you talk us through that?
In Poland, we have found two great companies. One company is IT outsourcing, I would say, company, one of the largest outsourcing companies in Poland. So we are talking to them to create a dedicated team for us and basically build, operate, transfer, then transfer the people to us in 1 year. We have also found a robotics manufacturing company that does robotics projects and products for automotive industry, mostly in warehousing space, but the competences are quite similar to ours. They have good R&D facility, they have electronics production facility, mold production. They also have field where we can put our machine. So we have also agreed with them that we will work together in making our products more robust and certifiable and of good quality, and they will help us with the R&D facility.
Michael, we have time for just one last question, and I just want to ask, I know you have a strong connection to New Zealand, your company has a strong connection to New Zealand. Can you just share that connection with us before we say goodbye for today?
In 2016, at the end of the year, we have run a crowdfunding campaign. We were at the point where we didn't know if our products were useful or not. And we make a video, reached out to people via email, and many farmers from New Zealand started to support us. Even though it was kind of hard for us to service them at that particular time. And we have about maybe 20 customers in New Zealand who are using our products. And that's really wonderful for us. Some farmers really said that, Michael, we should come over and try some New Zealand beautiful wine, and let's make some autonomous projects together.
I love it. Michael, you've got 500 people here, I think, who would happily welcome you for some wine and a bit of kai, a bit of food. It's hard, I think, for us to fathom what it would be like to be a business owner, entrepreneur, CEO, navigating that kind of disruption. I know it's hard for me to fathom. I'm so grateful to you for taking the time to talk with us back in March. Please do go and watch our original conversation. It was extremely moving for me, certainly. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. Please, team, put your hands together for Michael Utkin.
Thank you.